morning, everybody, and welcome to TLC Live. Very exciting show, very exciting week. We are, I'm excited also because I'm next to you, Orlando.
Well, that's good. I'm delighted to see you.
How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yep.
How's your week going on? Very busy?
It's been a very busy week as we approach the runoff elections, but we recently had some elections last Saturday.
Yes.
So we have some good news to report, but we're getting geared up for early voting, which starts, I guess, next Monday, and then Election Day is May 24th.
Correct.
For all the runoff candidates that are looking to serve the citizens of the state of Texas. And we have one of those great candidates with us in just a few minutes, but I do want to report that we had tremendous success, and we're proud of several people, not the least of which is our former executive director for the Texas Latino Conservatives. As you know, a young lady born in Juarez, Mexico, a graduate of Texas A&M, and was the second executive director of the Texas Latino Conservatives, went on to move back to Longview, Texas, to help her family grow the family business, and then decided to run for Longview City Council, which had no Hispanic representation.
Correct.
And on Saturday, Michelle Gamboa became the first Latina to serve city councilwoman-elect for Longview, Texas.
Super feliz por ella, and also she got engaged.
I know.
So double winning. She got engaged and also she won the elections.
So, Michelle, we're very proud of you. If you're watching the program, hats off to you. We also had our dear friend Joel Castro, who had been previously elected to the Alvin City Council.
Also a member of TLC.
Member of TLC, our endorsed candidate, and a regional director for us in the early days of TLC. Joel won his re-election, so congratulations to Joel. And then, if you watch the program last week, the week before, we had three great candidates for school board. We had John Perez, who was hoping to become the Spring Branch Independent School District Board of Trustees. He won. We had Victor Perez, who was running for Board of Trustees to the Katy Independent School District. He won.
Yes.
And then we had Rick Garcia, who was running for Fort Bend Independent School District. He won. And let me tell you, at the conclusion of that program, I said these were three of the finest candidates that we have ever interviewed. These guys were articulate, they were intelligent, they knew the community, they knew the issues, and we're so proud that they stepped up and they won, and that we were able to play a very minor part in their victory, but we're going to take credit for it. So those guys did extremely well, and so we're proud of all our candidates, but we couldn't be more proud of a friend that I've known for many, many years, and that's our current land commissioner, George P. Bush. And I got to tell a little story about George. I remember when his uncle ran for president of the United States, and the election results, it was the Al Gore versus Bush campaign, and it went on till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And I was out in front of the Capitol in Austin, Texas, because that's where Governor George W. Bush, candidate for president, was watching the election results. And I guess about midnight, they finally sent, one of the Bush family members out to greet the crowd that was over there on Congress Street. And guess who comes out? George P. And
so he was very, very young.
He's still young.
but
he was a mere child. But anyway, it was, that's how far back I've known George P. George P. is the son of former Governor Jeb Bush, who also ran for president of the United States. And George has served us in the United States Armed Forces, in the Navy. And he has a very strong Houston connection.
And I just met him recently last week at one of the events that one of our dear friends, Greg Regis, hosts for him.
Right.
And, we were talking.
But you didn't let me finish his bio. I was finishing. Hang on real quick.
But you talk too much always, Orlando.
He's got a long bio. But anyway, you can tell the story. She's excited, George.
I am.
So he has a Houston connection because he attended Rice University, so he's an L. But not only that, he went on to the University of Texas and earned his doctorate in jurisprudence as an attorney in Texas. And then he launched his political career, deciding to serve the citizens of the great state of Texas, and won the position of Texas commissioner, land commissioner, which, as you know, administers a lot of functions, among them all the veteran affairs, the Veterans Land Board, all the land programs for the state of Texas, all of our energy resources. So his hands are full. And then decided that he was going to launch a race for Attorney General. And that's where we are today, in a runoff between the incumbent and candidate George P. Bush. Now, go ahead and finish your story and tell us how you met George
So
P.
finally, he's gonna let me talk. And I want to share my story because I just met him recently last week, and I'm so excited because, I invite also our dear friend Liliana Rosales, who's the General Colombian Counsel here in Houston, and we were talking about Colombia, and he knows a lot of things about Colombia, so we were excited, and I invite him to the show. I was really like, he's gonna tell me he's super busy. He said, you know what, let's coordinate with my staff, and here we go, and I am so happy. Thank you so much for your time and being here with us at TLC.
And welcome, Commissioner.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you both so much for having me. And what a great organization. I think with the victories that you had mentioned, Orlando, last Saturday, is just a testament to the ongoing legacy that you both are creating and that the organization is creating for the most promising, opportunistic community in the great state of Texas. And so I think it's absolutely phenomenal, the progress that you've made. And I think we're going to see a lot of great conservative Latinos serving in all forms of government. And I'm really excited with the future that you all are representing and that you're bringing to the table here in Texas.
Well, Commissioner, as I tell everybody, this, as you know, this is a big state with 254 counties. And you've also done your part to raise awareness of our Latino conservatives over the years. I know that you've had a very close affiliation with one of our dear organizations we work with, and that's HRT, Hispanic Republicans of Texas. And I think you're either one of the charter members or original founder of the organization. So we're delighted to roll up our sleeves and work with HRT and TLC. As I said, it's a big state. No one organization can cover it all.
Absolutely. And, as you had mentioned with your former colleague that's running in Longview, Texas, I think it's a testament to, as you had mentioned, 254 counties, a population of 29 million. That'll be 40 million. It's estimated by 2040. An amazing amount of growth, not only internationally, but domestic migration, Californians moving as well. I was just with Mayor Rick Carmona. I believe he's the first Hispanic mayor in Terrell, Texas, in Kaufman County. And I know Harris County is arguably the most populated county in our state, but if you look at Kaufman County, it's on a percentage basis, I believe, the fastest growing county in the state, and it's just southeast of the Metroplex. It's adjacent to Dallas County. And Rick is just an example of just somebody who comes from the community, who rolled up his sleeves, started a family-owned business that's been successful, but felt that a lot of the community's needs were not being addressed and being represented, particularly in the Latino community. And so he decided to throw his hat in the ring and has been just an absolutely great leader. And so I think there's more that conservatives should be doing, that can be doing, whether it's through TLC, HRT, other groups that are supporting this effort, not only in local, county, but school board races, as we've seen with critical race theory, as we've seen with now the sexualization of our children, whether it's the Florida law, and now I think the governor's looking at a similar law here in Texas. It requires good leadership at the local level to represent the values that are important. One other thing I'll mention to you all that I'm also very excited about is in South Texas, where we could very well, for the first time, have two Latinas serving as Republicans out of the Rio Grande Valley itself. With redistricting, an additional district was created that will connect Hidalgo County, what used to be one of the most poorest counties in this entire state of Texas. Probably Monica de la Cruz will be the first Latina to serve out of that. And then Maida Flores, a really good friend of mine, whose husband is an intel officer with our Border Patrol agents, an honorable group of individuals that are trying in this trying time under the Biden administration to enforce federal laws, is going to win that race against first Dan Hernandez, who's a former county judge out of Cameron County, but a district that stretches all the way to Corpus Christi. So what I'm seeing down in the Rio Grande Valley, where we had a really good night on March 1, is border security, the Biden inflation crisis, the supply chain crisis, an overreaching regulatory framework that's affecting a lot of small businesses owned and run by Latinos that is resulting in the largest tidal wave I think the Republican Party is going to see in the entire country, and it's all in a very strong Hispanic community.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, Commissioner Bush, it's very exciting, and a few other names that I didn't mention, but Dan Corrales down in Midland, we helped him become a Hispanic city councilman in the Midland area. He's licensed to practice law in New York and Texas. Also served our country in the United States Army. And this past Saturday, also Cynthia Martinez Garcia was elected to the Lubbock City Council as the single Latina who owns a PR firm and a magazine in Lubbock. We're very proud of her. And so there are tremendous success stories. I'm very close to the former mayor of Del Rio, Texas. He used to run as a Democrat. Great father, great attorney. He's seeking the position of Texas senator for the Republican Party. I mean, just the wave is absolutely phenomenal. A lot of people say, well, why do you focus Hispanics? Why do you talk about, we're all, well, we have to realize that we obviously don't want to play ethnic politics or racial politics. We're all Texans. Those of us that vote, we're all U.S. citizens. We want a great future for our children. We want Texas to continue to be the leader, not only in the country, but globally. But the fact of the matter is, the Hispanic population, based on the last census, was the largest percentage growth in the state of Texas. And so I don't see a problem with reaching out and recognizing that we need the Hispanic community. We need the values of Latinos to join the conservative movement in Texas, to keep us in the leadership position, to keep our taxes low, and to make Texas the beacon that it's been in the country. And as you said, Commissioner, that's why people are moving here not only internationally, but from the East Coast and the West Coast.
Amen to that. And what's really exciting about TLC is identifying and recruiting those candidates so that more voters have a chance to connect with folks that have a similar story from the same communities in which they were raised, and that they're trying to raise their own children and grandchildren and create opportunities for themselves and for loved ones. And that's going to attract more people to the polls. And I totally agree with you, Orlando, that we're not the party of identity politics. That's what the left does. They just assume that if you put a Latino or a Black or an Asian on the ballot, that automatically you're entitled to that community's vote. And that's what we've always been against, right? But I do agree with the notion that finding and recruiting qualified candidates from the community that can be that can present a message and a profile that attracts all communities is what's going to lead the Republican Party forward in our state. And so I just think that the work that you are doing is incredibly impactful. And the good news is, with the Biden administration's policies, it's going to make our job so much easier. I mean, think about all the gains we're going to make in the House and county government, local government throughout Texas. He's making our job that much easier. Mm-hmm. It's bad for the country, but it's good for Republican Party politics.
Commissioner, let's focus on the race that you're currently involved in, and you're working very hard. Explain to us, what is the position of Attorney General of Texas, and what are the duties? How many lawyers are in that department? What is the focus of that office?
And why you decide to run for that position?
Well, I decided to run because I believe that we need new leadership, somebody who's not out on criminal bonds, somebody who's above reproach, somebody who's going to put the interests of everyday Texans first. And that's where the Constitution says that the Attorney General is to focus on, and that is to be the lead advocate for enforcing the state's laws. I'm a law and order candidate, and that starts with securing the border, backing our law enforcement on the streets, such as in Houston, Harris County, which I know is a top issue for many that reside in the area, but also taking on voting fraud and corruption and incompetence that we're seeing in county and local government. And I hate to say it, but Mayor Turner and Judge Hidalgo reflect that in the last few years of their so-called leadership. And as the land commissioner, one other thing that we've taken on is the distribution of federal dollars to communities to help them rebuild. But regretfully, we have found fraud and corruption and abuse of office. And so we need an attorney general that's going to prioritize these top line issues. The agency does manage 4,200 attorneys. And one of my biggest criticisms on Ken is that we haven't deployed the necessary resources to backstop the governor's efforts on the border. We need a new voice to back law enforcement, where in Houston, in broad daylight, constables and deputies are getting shot at in a record amount of homicides projected this year to exceed that of many large cities such as Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York. And that's just not the Texas that we know, that we love, that we want to raise our children and our grandchildren in. And so these are really basic platform ideas that the Attorney General is supposed to fill in the gaps for, but we're not getting right now in our state.
Yeah, Commissioner, as you may recall, I served as Harris County Treasurer for 12 years. And, one of the issues early on when I was elected back in 2007 was the inordinate costs. I'm an immigrant, as you know, Commissioner, and Andrea's an immigrant. But we came here legally, and we're all for legal immigration. And we understand the plight of Latin Americans that are living in desperate situations, trying to provide meals and an income for their families. Too often, the ire about the problems with illegal immigration is focused on the immigrant. When I tell people, really, your anger, your frustrations should be focused on the Congress and its inability to address the immigration issues. Since 1986, we haven't talked about the immigration issue. But I often said that the federal government ought to reimburse states like Texas, because as you know, Commissioner, we have the longest border with Mexico, and we bear the brunt of illegal immigration, both in providing health care. In Harris County, for example, we have what we call a charity hospital, which is funded by the local taxpayers. It's called the Ben Taub Hospital here in Harris County. And when undocumented aliens have severe illnesses, of course we want to provide health care for them, but that's at the expense of the taxpayer. We also know in 1982, the Supreme Court said we had to educate every child on this land. And so we now have to provide an education for undocumented children. And that comes out of the local property taxpayers, pocketbook. And so Texas bears an inordinate burden of providing services to illegal aliens, which the federal government tells us we have to do. Yet, we can't ask them for reimbursement. I remember one time I said, why can't we bring a cause of action against the federal government to reimburse Harris County for the inordinate costs? And said, well, you don't have standing. So that's an important issue. I'm glad you brought it up. But I think there are things the Office of Attorney General can do to try to bring resources to Texas to help us offset the costs that our Texas property taxpayers are absorbing.
Absolutely right. And look, I've come to you as the son of a legal immigrant myself, and we need to honor and cherish and uphold that tradition that we have. But what we're seeing on the border is completely lawless. And I would add that we need to target our frustrations and our anger also at the bloody drug cartels and coyotes and smugglers and traffickers that are taking advantage of the open borders policy of the Biden administration. I think you bring, in light of your Treasury background and your phenomenal service to Harris County, an excellent point that's not discussed enough, and that is to account for the net cost of illegal immigration to a state like Texas. Because you're right, if pound for pound we pick up a bigger bill than I guarantee you any other state in the country, but yet there isn't a mechanism for reimbursement. I would, and I've proposed this on the trail, the idea of not only documenting that at the state level, and doing this in an authentic way, not politicizing it, but just truly understanding what the cost is financially and accounting for that so that we can either legally bring a cause of action, like you said, against the federal administration, or work like hell to elect Republicans into a Congress and to the White House to reimburse a state at the right time and say, look, we've got to view this as a natural disaster or some sort of cataclysmic event when a state declares and goes to the federal government for a declaration of disaster, such as what we do, say, after Hurricane Harvey, But I will point your attention also, Orlando, to what happened down in Del Rio. And we both have friends down there, including George Antuna, who's a great friend, who's the city manager there. And the governor asked for reimbursement from the federal government because every county expense, whether it's healthcare, education, recovering dead bodies, contacting consulate offices in Central America for families to notify them of a lost one, was absorbed entirely by that county. And you as a treasurer understand that better than anybody. And we need to carry on that message that Texans just can't absorb all this. The federal government needs to. So on one side, the Biden administration says this is a federal responsibility and Texas legally can't enforce law. But on the other side, they're unwilling to pick up the bill. So all we're asking for as Texans for them to be consistent.
Yeah, and look, I agree with that. And let me tell you, the other thing that's inhumane, in my opinion, and wholeheartedly unfair is that the Biden administration kind of supports this open border policy, but yet does nothing to reimburse us for the care. We as Texans are compassionate, and so we will provide emergency health care. We will educate these children under the law. But for the Biden administration not only to turn its back to us while we're using our own resources now to reinforce the border through the governor's operations, to me it's inhumane. I mean, okay, if you're going to have the border open, reimburse our state so that we can provide those services. And we certainly hope when you become the next Attorney General of Texas that you will fight for the taxpayers of Texas.
Absolutely. And one other thing, another aspect of the agency is fighting for consumers. Consumer advocacy is a big part of the job, making sure that energy supplies and food supplies are there. And so I'm already looking at causes of action that we can bring, whether it's against the federal government or making sure that Texas taxpayers and consumers are taken care of. Regretfully, during Winter Storm Uri, I hate to go negative on Ken, but he was gone in Utah over the course of a week, refused to disclose texts or emails or give an explanation as to why he wasn't on the streets like you and I when we were freezing that fateful week and not protecting Texas consumers when we needed it the most. And the same applies to the greater Houston area after Hurricane Harvey, where we need somebody that's going to be in the trenches advocating for Texans, making sure they're not getting ripped off.
Well, Commissioner, we know that your time is very limited. We're around the corner of early voting, and the runoff elections day is May 24. So please briefly tell us about your issues and why people need to vote for you.
Well, thank you so much. I'm a Christian, I'm a father and a husband. Those are the most important responsibilities I will ever have. I will bring a humble heart for public service to the agency every single day. I do so not under criminal bond and totally above reproach, focused on not only enforcing federal immigration law on behalf of the state of Texas, but making sure that our law enforcement officials have the protection, the security, the backing that they so desperately need during this very low time of morale and recruiting in our state law enforcement agencies. We need somebody who's going to take on the incompetence, the corruption of local and county leadership, particularly in liberal progressive areas of our state that refuse to honor our laws and actually follow the law in their administration of public service. And we need somebody that's going to confront voting fraud, which is a concern for a lot of Houstonians when you have a county administrator mishandle over 10,000 ballots. We need somebody who's going to rebuild the relationships with our legislature in the halls of power, but most importantly, rebuild that trust with the people of Texas. So I'm in this to beat Democrats. I'll just say this, that with Beto at the top of the ticket, with AOC-styled squad members of the Democratic ticket, including for this office, Attorney General, I'm going to be focused on fighting for everyday Texas conservative values. And I want to do that with TLC and make sure that we win this race and elect some great Latinos up and down the ballot.
Well, Commissioner, thank you. Best of luck to you. I'm sure that Amanda can't wait to get this over with, and the boys want you back home, but we want to wish you all the very best, and we look forward to having you back as the Attorney General-elect of the state of Texas.
Muchas gracias.
Nos vemos. Gracias.
Hasta luego.
Ciao, ciao.
Okay.
Well,
Wow.
oh my God, I'm so excited that we had him on the show and he made the time. We know that
Es un caballero.
es un caballero, es un privilegio haberlo tenido con nosotros.
Yeah.
Y de verdad que una suerte haber contado con el tiempo de él y también, bueno, importantísimo, tenemos que salir a votar. Y estamos a la vuelta de la esquina con Early Voting o las votaciones anticipadas que comienzan en mayo 16. Y recuerden que el día de las elecciones de segunda vuelta son mayo 24.
Y repetir, si ustedes no votaron en la primera vuelta, en las primarias, pueden votar en esta segunda vuelta.
Correcto.
Ahora, si ustedes votaron en la primaria demócrata la primera vuelta, no pueden votar en la primaria republicana en la segunda vuelta. Un poco complicado, pero quiero explicar. Así que para ustedes que no han votado en las primarias que tuvimos marzo, no me acuerdo.
Sí, en marzo. Ajá.
Pueden votar en estas elecciones, la segunda vuelta, y tienen que apoyar a candidatos como Jorge P. Bush. Pero si votaron en el otro partido, no pueden votar en la primaria republicana. Pero si no votaron, pueden votar ahora.
Pero en las elecciones generales sí, aunque es un poco
en las
complicado.
elecciones generales sí, cualquiera puede votar,
cualquiera
no
puede
importa.
Votar.
Pero,
bueno, pero del crimen, que es uno de los importantes temas que nos aquejan a nuestra comunidad, también hay un tema muy importante que nos aqueja a nuestra comunidad y es la salud. Y por eso TLC it's doing this Saturday, May 14, a big event, our first health event that is called Salud a Ti. A totally free
What does Salud
event.
a Ti mean?
Salud a Ti, health for you.
Health to you, yes.
Or health to
health
you.
for you, right.
Health to you.
Yeah, so as Andrea mentioned, at Azteca Farmers Market, which is on the east end of Houston near Denver Harbor, which is Wayside and I-10, we're going to do Salud a Ti. And we have tremendous healthcare providers as our partners. The community has really stepped up for our first event, and I'm excited about that. And so we're running quite a bit of commercials, as I understand. You did a media buy that's getting the word out.
We're running commercials in one of the Spanish television, is Telemundo, and not only we're running commercials over there, but we're going to have Telemundo presence at our event. But we're so excited, Orlando, because this is the first event that Texas Latino Conservatives under the nonprofit is going to do for salud, para la salud de los latinos. Y lo estamos haciendo en Azteca Farmers Market, donde encuentras productos completamente frescos, vegetales, frutas, productos mexicanos, comida saludable para nuestra gente. Because to me, health, it's a lifestyle. And as we were running the commercials, we're saying, la salud no tiene que ser, o la comida o el estilo de vida saludable no tiene que ser aburrido. De verdad que es súper divertido comer cosas saludables, porque además, no solamente que después de que comes cosas saludables te sientes bien, pero en el futuro vas a prevenir enfermedades. Entonces yo creo que eso es la mejor parte de todo. Y cuando dicen mucha gente latina dice, es que comprar productos saludables es muy caro. Yo les digo, no, es más caro tener que pagar después por doctores, hospitales, enfermedades, infartos, no poder trabajar, no poder producir. Eso sí es más caro. Pero cuando se trata de nuestra salud y lo único que tenemos es esto, un solo cuerpo para poder tenerlo que cuidar. Así que este es el templo que debemos cuidar y por eso, and that's why we invited today two specialists in health. That is going to be also, they're going to be also in the event on Saturday, helping us and giving us their time, because this event is totally free at no cost for our community. It's going to be May 14 at Azteca Farmers Market from 12 to 2. Es el 14 de mayo a partir de las 12 del mediodía hasta las 2 de la tarde en Azteca Farmers Market.
And because this is through our nonprofit organization, we want to address critical issues that are facing our community. And given the large size of the Hispanic population, not only in Harris County, but in Texas, and particularly down in the Rio Grande Valley, we have to be aware of the health issues affecting our community. One of the big problems has been the lifestyle choices that Latinos make in terms of food and food preparation and food consumption. And that has led to a crisis that many people talk about, but we don't highlight. And that is obesity. And obesity, unchecked, untreated, unattended to, leads to several other things. Now, I'm not professing to be a physician, but I do know that obesity can lead to all kinds of problems down the road, particularly what we call type 2 diabetes. And so
today we have
yeah.
Isabel Valdez. She is a physician assistant and assistant professor. And also we have Dr. Joe Galati, that you know him very well. He's a liver expert. And they're both going to be with us this Saturday. And they're also today with us at TLC Live, talking about the issues that not only our Latino community, but the community in general is facing.
And I want to tell you, I've known Dr. Joe Galati for decades. I met him when I was first on the Houston City Council. We both had an interest in, at that time, what was called hepatitis C, which was actually affecting a lot of people across America, but a lot in Houston. And we developed a friendship, and he's the author of a book called... I forget. Joe, what's the name of the book? Eating Yourself to Death?
It's Eating Yourself Sick.
There you go.
Yeah, quite
so
apropos.
Welcome, Dr. Galati
and Isabel Valdez.
And Isabel, are you a PhD? Do we refer to you as doctor as well?
I hope my audio is working okay. No, I'm a physician assistant. So if we want to be formal, you can call me Ms. Valdez.
Ms. Valdez.
As my patients do. Physician assistants, I don't have a doctorate degree. I have a master's in medicine, but I will also say this is my passion. This is what I help my patients with every day. I just talked to someone minutes ago about their blood pressure. And as soon as I'm done with this live feed, I'm going to talk about blood pressure with my next patient, porque hay que controlar todo esto, tanto el azúcar como la presión.
Y sabes que la alta presión y el consumo de azúcar te llevan a unas enfermedades que la gente ni siquiera se da cuenta, ni siquiera se imagina el nivel de gravedad que es esto. De verdad que la alta presión te puede llevar a un ataque cardíaco, a un derrame cerebral, a miles de cosas que son las que debemos poner atención, y por eso es importante prevenir. ¿Y cómo prevenimos? Con un estilo de vida saludable. Así que welcome to both of you. Welcome to both of you, and we're gonna have them both pretty much at the same time. Let's start with explain what is the biggest issue that our Latino community is facing right now.
Well, I could jump in and say, which Isabel probably shares, the degree of obesity is absolutely overwhelming. And as Orlando mentioned, where there is obesity, you're going to lead to diabetes, heart disease, kidney disease, increased rate of cancer. And of course, what I do is with obesity, you develop something called fatty liver. Fatty liver leads to cirrhosis, liver cancer, and a shortened lifespan. And so it is an absolute horrible scene that we're seeing every day for Isabel and I and our colleagues that are taking care of patients. It is 70 to 80% of our patients are afflicted by this. Now, Orlando, you and I have known each other a long time, and we've had plenty of time to talk politics. And if you look from strictly a political standpoint and the different issues that our governments look at, of course, we want public safety and immigration and taxes and jobs. But unless we are addressing the health and wellness of our population, our nations, the politicians are failing us. We have to raise the obesity and diabetes discussion to the top of the list of what is important to keep our communities healthy, profitable, happy, and safe.
I'd like to take that segue as well that you said, Dr. Galati, because one of the things we need to remember that we probably didn't get taught in school, and instead we're taught about this in our homes and our families, obesity is not something to be ashamed about. It is a medical condition, and it needs to be recognized as a medical condition. I mean, we are not treating it as a willpower problem, like you just need to get up early and exercise and eat better. It's actually a medical problem. And I'm quoting Dr. Fatima Cotty Stanford when I say, if we didn't treat blood pressure problems with medications, we would be doing wrong by our patient. It would almost be negligence. And yet medical obesity, the condition of obesity, goes untreated, unchecked, undiscussed. And instead we leave it on the byway, just on the side, and tell patients just eat better. When we have medications that help with that. In fact, we have medications that help not only obesity, but also the condition of diabetes. Así que tenemos que cambiar la manera en la que vemos la obesidad, porque la obesidad en sí no es algo de lo cual tengamos que tener vergüenza. Al contrario, es una condición médica que se puede controlar con medicamento, con cirugía, y así como estuvimos hablando hace poco con la dieta, la manera en que comemos, porque la comida tanto nos puede sanar, así como nos ha perjudicado en algunas veces. Así que estamos listos para hablar más de eso este sábado, porque es manos a las obras para que ayudar a todos a entender que la obesidad se tiene que controlar, y controlando la obesidad se controlan también otras condiciones médicas, incluso la presión y la diabetes.
Y Miss Valdez, yo creo que más que controlar la obesidad, yo pienso que también debemos hablar con los padres, educarlos, porque podemos prevenir esto desde que los niños están muy pequeños, alimentándolos bien. Yo siempre decía, I'm a mother of twins and they're already 17 years old. You don't miss of what you don't know. So if we don't give our kids junk food, if we don't give our kids sodas, if we don't give our kids fast food, so it's no way for them to miss that if they don't know better. Because when they were born, they don't know anything. It's our responsibility as parents. And I always say that because when my kids were little, I was having this conversation with the grandmas, because the grandmas want to spoil the kids a lot, and they come home, visit the kids, and like, un chocolate para el niño, un dulcecito, pero es que tú eres muy estricta. Please let them eat. Like, no. Because we need to prevent those things. Then later on in life, when they're adults, they can choose what to eat or what not. But if we teach them what is the right way to eat, is habits. For me, the habits and discipline are very, very important.
You're absolutely right, Ms. Gomez. It's teaching them not just by telling them, but by being an example, right? Just like I'm an example to my nieces that I run 3 miles at a time, 3 weeks at a time, 3 times a week, 4 times a week. What I eat in front of them matters. How my portion sizes matters. And I know very well about the vitamin T of tacos, tortillas, tortas, tamales, tequila. I grew up with all that, the vitamin T, and that wasn't my name. It was something that my patient once called it. So I grew up with vitamin T. I know what it can do, and I'm now trying to work it off. And all the miles I'm going to work off right now, and I'm going to give all the vitamin T, so it's best to avoid it. And the very same vitamin T can affect the liver, to Dr. Galati's point. I mean, we now have seen the changes that happen with the liver, the cirrhosis, the fatty liver deposits that grow and lead to cirrhosis, and then can also increase the risk of hepatitis C, which is a completely preventable condition now. And we have treatment for it. Expensive, but we do have treatment.
I want to get back because Dr. Galati mentioned an important point. And while this whole program that we're doing on Saturday is through our nonprofit, one of the goals, Dr. Galati, and as you and I have talked for many years, is the lack of attention by the federal government, because the federal government disperses a lot of tax money. And those monies go to build highways, or they'll go to build federal prisons, or to subsidize, drug treatment programs. But what we need is a focus on this diabetes, obesity crisis. Isn't it a lot cheaper, Dr. Galati, from a public policy perspective and a public finance perspective, to address it at the front end, rather than when you have renal failure, cardiovascular disease, a fatty liver? I mean, doesn't it make sense economically to focus public policy to this issue?
Oh, it does. And if you think that you're going to take care or address diabetes and heart disease when they're in the intensive care unit needing a pacemaker and all sorts of invasive studies, you really don't understand the problem. It is so much cheaper, so much better for the patient to address this really early. And so it has to be a multi-pronged approach to say education and awareness. We have to have improved screening and early treatment. And it comes down to really getting the children involved, the adolescents involved, to have them understand that they may be 15, 16 years old. What they're doing right now is going to affect them long term. Their ability to complete school, get a job, be successful in life. And I like to always say, Orlando, the cost of wellness, the cost of success is so much tied to their wellness, because you don't want to be 20, 22 years old and having to deal with diabetes, heart disease, the side effect from the medications. You want to be strong and able, not handicapped when you're 22 years old. And this is what we are seeing. And I'm sure Isabel is seeing the same thing. Chronically
Every day,
ill
yeah.
young people.
Mhm.
It's a shame.
I think we attribute so much diabetes and blood pressure problems as a condition that affects the older people. Now, I spent 3 months out of my clinical rotation years out of my practice in Rio Grande Valley treating childhood obesity. I even did my master's project on childhood obesity. So that's something that I'm very comfortable discussing with children. But now that I work mostly with adults, my goal is to help the adults to prevent the childhood obesity component and also to treat it like the disease that it is, and educating the public that if you fix this one disease, obesity, you can actually help the other conditions, fatty liver disease, which leads to the hepatitis C, the diabetes, and the blood pressure problems. Porque lo que mucha gente no nos damos cuenta es que la diabetes, los problemas del hígado, la presión arterial cuando está elevada a veces no causan síntomas, y mucho paciente latinoamericano me llega y me dice, pero es que no me siento mal, ¿cómo es que tengo diabetes si me siento muy bien todos los días? Estas condiciones médicas, como no tienen síntomas, he ahí la razón por la cual hay que vigilarlas, y es lo que vamos a hacer este fin de semana. This weekend, we're going to try, because these symptoms, these conditions don't give us a warning sign until you have a heart attack or a stroke. We don't want that. And because we don't get a warning sign, we're going to be there from 12 to 2, checking blood pressures, checking the blood sugars, because this is how you can catch things. Ir al médico una vez al año para que te revisen es una manera de hacer ese chequeo anual para detectar estos problemas. Just going to the doctor even once a year. So I hope that people can help us by showing us. I'm going to have students and I'm going to be there. I'm going to be pricking fingers and checking blood pressures because we want to catch this early.
And I understand that, Dr. Galati, jump in, but I understand that you have a new technology that you'll actually do some cursory screening of the livers.
Yeah, we're going to do something called FibroScan. It's a very simple 3 to 5 minute test, doesn't hurt, and we're going to be able to detect the presence of fat in the liver and or any scarring in the liver. So this will be
we're going to have that on Saturday, right?
Yes, on Saturday at the event. Come on down, get a FibroScan. It'll all be free, and get information and knowledge and the help that we want to provide to the community.
Excellent.
Yes,
on top, I mean, I wanted you guys. Tell me, Ms. Valdez.
Very quickly, we're also going to have students from the Baylor ophthalmology class, students interested in ophthalmology, who are going to be doing vision tests. So I don't want to take up more of your time, but I just want to say we're going to check blood sugars, blood pressures, eyeballs are going to get checked as well. And this is an exciting opportunity to check your liver. I'm very excited to see this technology, Dr. Galati. I'm very excited.
It's going to be great.
That's great.
And you know, I'm really proud of the community because people have stepped up, whether it's Vecino Clinic or whether the Texas Liver, specialist, or whether it's Dr. Galati or whether it's Miss Valdez, some of the food banks, some of the physical fitness professionals. We have a media partner. We have one of the great farmers markets. We hope this is a success and that the community turns out to get screened. Everything is free, and it's all about your health,
Yeah.
and it's all about improving the quality of life. And as Dr. Galati says, it's to make you more productive so you don't end up, in a hospital bed or with some chronic condition that limits your capabilities to be productive, not only as a citizen, but for your family.
And we're going to have also a chef, and we prepared a video of the chef going to the farmer's market. And the reason that we're doing it in a farmer's market is because we want people not only to get free screening and free information with these specialists, but also to be able to buy very fresh products, which is veggies, fruits, and
Nuts, herbs,
nuts, herbs,
spices.
everything is going to be so fresh. So the chef is gonna go. I mean, he already went to pick all the stuff that he's gonna cook. He's gonna cook a cooking demonstration over there, and he's gonna cook in front of everybody, and he's gonna demonstrate how easy is to cook healthy.
And I will say that Texas...
And also it tastes amazing, because that's why when we're taping on Monday, he was cooking the recipes that he's gonna cook also on Saturday, and he's gonna. And I was tasting, I was like, oh my God, this is so good. And you can have also with chips. And we were like debating with Shannon that works with us. It's like, okay, but chips are not supposed to be healthy. Well, guess what? We found chips that were very healthy. They were baked y eran chips de nopal. Chips de nopal. Imagínate, tostadas de nopal. So imagine making tostadas de nopal that you can dip on a salad, that you can dip on any sauce that it's healthy, that is so important. I don't know if I think we were not able to play the video, Mark.
And before Mark plays
No, that's
the video,
that's not the one. It's the other one.
Also want to give a shout out to the Texas A&M, the Texas AgriLife Extension. They're also working with us. They're going to be providing a nutritionist and cooking samples. So again, it's been a tremendous community effort that everybody's come together to address this issue about health and wellness and awareness of obesity and the complications that can result. So do you have the video? All right, you can roll the video.
I want to, Miss Valdez, we don't have Dr. Galati anymore. He signed out. Okay. Miss Valdez, I wanted you to talk while we watch this video, and we can turn off the music, Mark, completely. The importance of eating healthy, but it doesn't have to be aburrido, sin sabor. I mean, we can do so much with these healthy products and cook at home healthy meals.
Absolutely, definitivamente. We're lucky as Latinoamericanos, be it from Mexico, Central America, South America. Our diets are amazing. How many people go to Mexican restaurants because the food is great? Well, we can make that at home because it's in our culture, it's in our blood, it's probably in our genes. Not mine, because I'm not a good cook. But we have so much good options from the earth, from the vegetables that we have access to, the vegetables that we grew up with. And as long as we prepare them low grease, not too much oil, low on salt, and if you get rid of all the sugar, maybe use less of it or use a sugar substitute, you're actually going to help your blood pressure and your blood sugars at the same time. So, qué orgullo el nuestro de tener una dieta tan rica y tan llena de comidas y de verduras diversas que todo latinoamericano puede hacer en casa. Lo único que hay que recordar es evitar esas cosas que nos pueden perjudicar, como la sal y la grasa.
Y sabes que tú estabas hablando de sustituir el azúcar, y una de las ensaladas que preparó el chef para ponerle ese saborcito más tropical de nosotros, le puso pedazos de mango. Y yo pienso que las frutas sustituyen el azúcar perfectamente y sabe delicioso. Y en Azteca Farmers Market tienen los productos frescos. Es más, tú no tienes ni que preocuparte de pelar el mango ni de pelar la piña. Te lo entregan todo listo, te lo ponen con un palito así como una paleta. Te puedes comer el mango, le puedes poner un poquito de chilito para que le dé ese sabor bien latino. Así que de verdad que por eso era bien importante hacerlo en la Azteca Farmers Market, porque tienes todo de la granja a la mesa. Y tú puedes notar, Miss Valdez, cuando vayas allá, que todos los productos son frescos, que se ven que no son procesados, que de verdad vienen de la granja, y eso hace una diferencia. Lo que llamamos en los supermercados orgánico, well, they have everything organic over there. And you can tell because they just seeing the products is so fresh. And it make a difference on the flavor also, because when we were making, well, the chef was making the salads, not we, but I was filming and he was making the salads. And then when I taste, it's like a, wow, I can see and I can taste the difference on the products. And you know, if you go to also to the Azteca Farmers Market, the prices are less than if you go to the supermarket. So you have the best of the both worlds, you know, less for better quality.
Yeah, and at the same time, like you said, natural foods that have natural sugars that actually probably taste better than all the refined things that are out there. Así que la verdad es que vale la pena. Ya me dio hambre hablando del mango con un poquito de picante. Pero sí, es que es un orgullo poder estar en un lugar que también, qué privilegio estar en un lugar donde ellos apoyan a la comunidad, tienen la comida con la que uno se crió y con la comida que siempre en realidad pues es sana. Lo único es que sí la hemos adulterado un poco, ¿no? Con mucho queso, quizás con mucha sal, con mucha azúcar. Eliminar esas cosas y estamos comiendo muy sano y muy saludable con lo que nos están dando, lo que se vende ahí.
Y señora Valdez, ¿es correcto decir que un queso natural es mejor que un queso, vamos a decir, procesado, como dicen en inglés, processed? Hay que evitar comidas que han sido procesadas. ¿Está correcto dicho así?
Efectivamente, el queso que esté en su propio color natural, ese queso amarillo que venden en las bolsas de plástico, que se derrite, ese contiene muchísima sal, ha sido sumamente procesado para que dure mucho tiempo. Así, pero el queso que se venden en unos mercados que yo he comprado desde chiquita, que se hace, que sabe uno que los hacen en familia, en lugares donde hacen así bultos de comida, está mejor controlado y quizás no tenga la cantidad de sal y de grasa que nos puede perjudicar a lo largo.
Es correcto. No, de verdad que podemos comer. Y algo que me preocupa, por ejemplo, no solamente los dulces, las harinas y la sal y el azúcar en los niños, los productos procesados. And that's altera las hormonas también del crecimiento de los niños, de las mujeres. I mean, these days we're seeing the kids, yes, they're growing bigger and you know, más altos y un poco más
Well,
también.
yeah, not only that, but I mean, I don't want to act like, you know, but if I know from talking to endocrinologists, for example, with females, little
Yeah.
girls, you know, precocious puberty. I mean,
Yeah.
what's leading to all these things? You know, little girls growing
It's the
breasts,
food.
and
Everything is the
yeah,
food.
I don't know if it's environmental or medical, but you know, I do want to say, Ms. Valdez, I want to thank you for your time. We know how busy you are, but we also want to thank Baylor College of Medicine for participating. It's really important, and the fact that they're dedicating resources and making time available to help screen and inform the community is of invaluable help to our community. So we want you to extend our sincere thanks to Baylor for us.
Absolutely, I will. Know that it's our privilege to have this opportunity to help our patients, our community, and to give back. And hopefully prevent a lot of these diseases that we can control. Así que el privilegio y el honor es nuestro y estamos agradecidos que también nos hayan invitado. Así que es un placer y esperamos verlos a todos este sábado.
Y quiero que sepa que posiblemente no va a ser la última vez que la vamos a invitar al programa, ¿ok?
A la orden, estoy dispuesta. Cualquier vez que pueda ayudar a la comunidad, a la orden.
Qué linda, muchísimas gracias y nos vemos este sábado a las 12 del mediodía hasta las 2 de la tarde en Salud a ti en Azteca Farmers Market. Miss Valdez, muchísimas gracias por su tiempo, por su información y esperamos verla ya, así que ustedes, el público que quiera asistir va a poder hablar con ella, tener información de primera mano y de verdad que esto es un privilegio poder contar con ustedes, hablar de primera mano con ustedes, tener esa información de primera mano y el evento es completamente gratis, solamente para la comunidad, para las familias de Houston. Así que ahí los esperamos en Azteca Farmers Market. Nos vemos, Miss Valdez. Muchísimas gracias por su tiempo.
Muchas gracias. Y también
Gracias.
queremos darle las gracias al doctor José Galati. Ya le puse el
Sí.
nombre José.
José
So,
Galati.
yeah,
sí.
we want to thank Dr. Joe Galati, a preeminent gastroenterologist, superstar author, hosts a radio program you can catch, I believe, every Sunday on KTRH radio. But more importantly, both Miss Valdez and Dr. Joe Galati are going to be there to answer all of your health concerns on Saturday between noon
Between
and 2
12
o'clock.
to 2. Yes.
Yeah.
12 to 2. Y
12
también le quiero agradecer al chef de Papas Steakhouse, Catarino, que ha estado, bueno, nos hemos reunido con él varias veces, pero estuvimos todo el lunes cocinando y de verdad que es una sensación y el arte, como pica él, como mezcla los ingredientes, el sabor que le da y bueno, el tiempo que nos dedicó, de verdad que iba a estar ahí el sábado cocinando, haciendo demostración de lo fácil y lo rico y sabroso que es poder tener una comida saludable. Así que, Papas Steakhouse, thank you so much for your support. Y Catarino, thank you so much for your time.
¿Y vas a estar tú ahí también?
Of course, I'm going to be there super early.
All the more reason for you guys to show up so that you can see Andrea.
No, not to see me, but to see all the specialists and all the event. We're going to have a lot of things for the kids. We're going to have a DJ.
A raffle,
robots. We're going to have fitness classes for the kids. We're going to have Zumba.
music, little taste of food.
Y mucha diversión. Y, dice, porque la vida saludable, la salud no es aburrido. Esto es de verdad que súper divertido and it's going to be a lot of fun in Azteca Farmers Market. Every event that we do over there is super fun because it's a lot of space, it's a lot of, it's colorful and you have an indoor and outdoor and we know that it's very hot right now. But we're going to have indoor and outdoor. But indoor, we're going to have all the specialists, all the screening, the test. And Catarino, the chef, is going to be inside doing all the preparation. I'm going to bring an air fryer that now I'm a super fan of the air fryer. And we're going to raffle an air fryer. You don't know, but we're going to raffle an air fryer.
I heard. I hope I win it.
Yeah, I know. Because, now I'm super fan of the air fryer. You cook. At less time.
Mark's over here laughing.
I know, yeah.
But let me tell you,
I'm going after the air fryer.
Yeah. I had fried chicken prepared in an air fryer.
Yes.
Oh my God.
It's incredible.
Is that the best thing ever?
It's no fat. And the house doesn't smell like you're cooking. And also is less time. I mean, it's for the busy moms. You can cook healthy in an air fryer and fast, easy, and delicious.
But at the end of the day, we are concerned about the community's health, and we understand that there are issues facing everybody in the community, but none more than the issue of obesity and potential type 2 diabetes among Hispanics. It's at an epidemic rate, and so that's why we've asked all these professionals to join us. So again, it's noon until 2 o'clock. Azteca Farmers Market, May 14th, this coming Saturday. We hope you'll stop by. If not just to get screened, at least to buy some fresh vegetables and support the vendors there. And thank you again to Miss Valdez at Baylor College of Medicine and Dr. Joe Galati, who took time out to share some of the information with
Our
you.
people needs to get online to our webpage and they need to register for the screening. That's going to be easier. Not that they cannot register on the site at Azteca Farmer Market, but if you want to avoid lines and, want to be right there.
Y la registración, creo yo, va a hacerlos elegibles para la rifa.
También lo va a ser elegible para la rifa, exactamente. Así que los los invitamos a que visiten la página del TexasLatinoConservatives.com, TexasLatinoConservatives.com, and you just click on Salud a Ti, you register, and not only that, give you a faster way to get a screen, but also to participate on the raffle and the prizes. Así que si usted quiere participar en las rifas y todos los premios, vaya a TexasLatinoConservatives.com, se registra dándole clic en Salud a Ti, y eso le va a dar no solamente la opción de ganar en las rifas, pero también de obtener su puesto más rápido para que le puedan hacer los exámenes completamente gratis de visión y el screening del hígado y todas las cosas que vamos a tener allá en Azteca Farmers Market. Recuerde, este sábado 14 de mayo a partir de las 12 del mediodía hasta las 2 de la tarde tenemos clases de Zumba, clases de fitness para los niños, DJ, robots, premios. Además puede adquirir todos sus verduras, frutas y antojitos mexicanos ahí mismo en Azteca Farmers Market.
Pero no solamente mexicanos, porque yo también vi frijoles negros, hay aguacates, hay creo que
bueno,
yuca.
Mexicanos y latinoamericanos, hay de todo.
Claro.
O sea, está súper rico.
No
ese
tiene que ser
mercado.
mexicano para venir, puede ser venezolano, puertorriqueño, cubano, hasta los colombianos vamos a permitir.
A mí me encanta ir allá y nos hicimos un mercado increíble con Shannon el lunes y mira, agarramos unos mangos espectaculares.
I know, I got a couple of them.
Yeah, mangos, naranjas, sandías, nopales, bueno, tienen de todo. Y mira, me encantó esas tostadas de nopal que ya las tengo ahí en mi casa con salsita y saludable.
Okay. Speaking of saludable, we're overtime, and of course, Mosier Studios is going to charge us overtime rates, which are expensive. So thank you all for joining us. We'll see you on Saturday, May 14th at the Azteca Farmers Market. Go to Texas Latino Conservatives and register, and that'll probably make you eligible for the drawings. We're out of time. We'll see you next week. God bless, and stay tuned.
Nos vemos en Salud a Ti, nos vemos el próximo miércoles también.